Say it with me.
Victor's voice was sharp, cutting through the night air as he stood before them, eyes glinting with something unreadable. We swear our loyalty to wealth, no matter the cost. Ben's hand shook, but he nodded, his voice low and steady. No matter the cost. Tony's eyes flickered nervously, but he gritted his teeth and repeated, no matter the cost. Lucas hesitated, his stomach twisted. A dark feeling spread inside him, but the weight of their gazes made him finally speak. No matter the cost. Victor's lips curled into a cold smile, and in that moment, something shifted, like the air itself thickened. He lifted his hands slowly, chanting in a language none of them understood. The ground seemed to tremble beneath their feet, but no one moved. When the word stopped, the world around them was still. Too still. Victor's eyes locked onto each of them. It is done. The pact is sealed. The three of them stood there in silence, hearts pounding, a cold sensation creeping over their skin. They couldn't know it yet, but the shadows in the corners of the room were already moving, waiting for them to realize they were bound to something much darker than they imagined. Ben stared at his empty wallet, feeling a heavy sadness in his chest. He was tired of struggling every single day. Ben, Tony, and Lucas were three friends living in a busy city, where buildings were tall and lights were bright, but their lives felt small and dark. Each day they worked in low-paying jobs. Ben worked in a small store, Lucas drove a delivery van, and Tony worked in a noisy factory. They earned just enough to survive, but dreamed of something more. The three friends often talked about how much they wished to be rich. Sometimes they laughed about it, but deep down, they wanted change. They wanted to live a life where they didn't have to worry about bills, food, or rent. They wanted nice clothes, big homes, and shiny cars. But every time they talked about it, reality reminded them that dreams like those were out of reach. One day, after a very hard day at work, they met at a small cafe. They sipped on cheap coffee and complained about how unfair life was. Tony, always the bold one, looked at his friends and said, "What if we could change things? What if we really could be rich?" Ben and Lucas looked at him, their eyes full of both hope and doubt. They didn't know how it could happen, but they all agreed that they would do anything to escape their current lives. That night, they made a promise, a pact. They vowed to change their lives no matter the cost. As they finished their coffee, they sealed their pact with a handshake. They laughed a little, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. The idea of changing their lives seemed big, even scary, but they were tired of waiting for things to get better. After they left the cafe, the friends started walking home. The city was quiet, and streetlights glowed dimly as they walked. Suddenly, a man appeared from the shadows. He wore a dark suit and had a calm, steady look on his face. "Good evening," he said, his voice smooth and calm. "My name is Victor. I hear you want to be rich." The friends were shocked. How could this stranger know their deepest wish? They stared at Victor, not sure if they should trust him. Victor smiled. "I can help you," he said, "but know this, nothing comes without a price." The friends exchanged glances. They were nervous, but the dream of wealth was too strong to ignore. After a long pause, they nodded, ready to hear more. The city lights flickered above as Victor spoke. His words sounded both exciting and dangerous. Victor explained that he could give them a path to wealth. They would find opportunities, earn money, and live lives beyond their dreams. But he warned them again that there would be a cost. He didn't explain what the cost was, but he made it clear that this wasn't a game. He looked each of them in the eye and said, "Do you accept this deal, knowing there will be risks?" The friends hesitated. A part of them wanted to walk away, but their desire to escape poverty was stronger. They all nodded, agreeing to Victor's mysterious offer. Victor smiled, leaving them with a strange message.
"Wealth will come to those who can bear its weight."
With that, he disappeared into the night, leaving the friends both excited and a little afraid. The next day, Ben walked into work feeling something had changed. The day after meeting Victor, things started happening. Ben was offered a surprising opportunity to manage a small part of the store, which came with a raise. Lucas found out he was getting extra delivery work that paid double. Tony, meanwhile, received a call about a new job that offered a much higher salary than his current one. At first, they thought it was all just luck, but as the days passed, more opportunities kept coming. They began making more money than they ever thought possible. They celebrated their success, buying new clothes and even nicer things for their small apartments. They felt unstoppable, as if they had finally won against life's hardships. But a small voice in Ben's mind reminded him of Victor's words. Could this sudden wealth really be so simple? The friends sat in a fancy restaurant looking around in awe. They had never been in a place like this before. With their newfound wealth, the friends started enjoying life more. They dined at nice places, bought expensive gadgets, and started dressing in stylish clothes. For the first time, they felt like they belonged to a world of success and happiness, yet as they enjoyed their new lifestyle, small changes began appearing. Ben noticed that Tony seemed more distracted, and Lucas was a little distant. They didn't hang out as much, busy with their new lives, but none of them wanted to think too deeply about it. They had money now, and that was what mattered, right? Ben woke up feeling weak, a strange pain in his chest. He brushed it off, but the feeling lingered. Days turned into weeks, and the friends continued to enjoy their wealth. But one morning, Ben felt unusually tired and weak. He thought he was just overworked, but the feeling didn't go away. He started feeling sick often, but when he went to the doctor, they couldn't find anything wrong. Tony also began experiencing strange things. Sometimes he would hear whispers at night, like someone was trying to warn him. He tried to ignore it, but the whispers grew louder. Lucas, meanwhile, felt like he was being watched. Shadows seemed to follow him wherever he went. He laughed it off as his imagination, but a part of him wondered if it was real. Tony lay awake, listening to the whispers in the darkness. They seemed to be calling his name. Tony's experiences with the whispers grew worse. He began feeling a constant sense of dread, as if something bad was coming. He mentioned it to Ben, but Ben told him not to worry. They were living the life they always wanted, so why think about anything else? Yet, despite his words, Ben couldn't ignore the strange feelings he had too. Deep down, all three friends sensed that something was wrong, but none of them wanted to admit it. Lucas looked over his shoulder, feeling eyes on him. The shadows seemed darker, closer. Lucas started seeing shadows everywhere he went. They were just quick glimpses, but he always felt watched. The strange part was that it only happened when he was alone. He tried to ignore it, telling himself it was nothing, but his fears continued to grow. The friends began meeting less often, each dealing with their own unsettling experiences in silence. They tried to keep up appearances, pretending everything was fine, but the shadows, whispers, and sickness were creeping into their lives more deeply each day. Ben picked up his phone and dialed Victor's number, hoping for some clarity. Finally, unable to ignore his worries any longer, Ben called Victor. He asked why these strange things were happening to them. Victor's response was cryptic, reminding him that they had agreed to the terms.
There is a cost, Victor said. You wanted wealth and you got it. But every gain comes with a price.
Ben felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know how to tell Tony and Lucas. The truth seemed too frightening to share. Tony and Lucas argued over something small, but the anger felt deeper than it should have. The friends began to fight more often. Small disagreements turned into big arguments. Their friendships, once strong, were now full of tension. They all felt burdened by their secrets and fears, unable to share what they were going through. Deep down, they knew that their lives had changed forever. But instead of joy, they felt a growing sense of fear and loneliness, haunted by a pact they barely understood.